Welcome everyone to Offstreet's monthly webinar. Please, I see the participants are rolling in. Please feel free to put in the chat your name, your campus name, and where you're joining us from. It's just always good to see where everyone's joining us from. My name is Jodine, and I'm the Customer Success Manager at Offstreet. Offstreet's parking management software equips university parking professionals with a simple way to manage event parking, sponsored guests, courtesy permits, and more. I'm so excited to spend the next half an hour with all of you. I know it's a very, very busy time. I've been speaking to a lot of our clients, and it's move-in week and permit rollout. So I want to thank you for taking this time to spend with us in the next half an hour. We're going to try and make it condensed, packed with full of excitement for you. What you can expect from today is we will be interviewing the team, Andy and Charlene from UCR Riverside. I'll be introducing them shortly. And after that, we'll do a quick demo on our event feature in Offstreet. And then after that, we're going to open up for Q&A. So please feel free during the webinar to put any questions in our Q&A section. You'll see it at the bottom of the screen. It says Q&A with a question mark. Put your questions in there. I'm going to start us off with a quick video from Offstreet, and then we're going to go straight into the interview.
Welcome. Once an event is created in Offstreet, departments can share the link with their guests. Guests enter their license plate number and click Park. They can enter their email for a confirmation or get directions directly to the lot they will park in. Yes, it's really that easy. But how do you prevent misuse and link sharing? We're glad you asked. You can set up additional settings that allow you to set a maximum number of active parkers, require guests to enter a code, or require guests to enter additional information. Equipped with a full audit trail, you know exactly who's parking and when. Booyah, as Matt likes to say. A better experience for your guests. An easier solution for your team.
I'm going to go straight into the interview. I want to introduce the team from UCR to you. Andy is the Associate Director, Transportation and Parking Services at UCR. He has over 30 years of experience in delivering quality transportation and parking service in higher education. He oversees field operations for the UCR Riverside campus, which includes parking enforcement, guest and event services, and facility operations. Charlene is one of our power users of Offstreet. She started her career at the University of California as a student in the Transportation Services department. And from there, she's transitioned into various permanent roles. During COVID, she had a little bit of a pivot in her career, but then found herself back into the parking industry in 2020. She's now UCR's event parking manager, and she focuses on increasing revenue and events on campus, and she's increased at 30% from the previous year. So thank you very much, Andy and Charlene, for joining us. Andy, I'm going to start with you, if that's okay. Can you just give us a quick overview of the parking operations at UCR?
Sure. We're a pretty traditional university transportation and parking department. So we provide information kiosks, guest services. We have a parking enforcement team that patrols our campus parking lots, utilizing LPR to enforce all of our virtual parking permits that our office issues. So a pretty traditional system within the university environment.
Thank you. Charlene, today the spotlight is on UCR's case study that we did with you, and I see Emma posted a link in the chat for everyone to see. So those of you who have not read through the case study, please take the link and have a read through. It's specifically focused on the campus tour and how UCR saved money and how they improved their events. Charlene, can you maybe tell us why campus tours is such an important event for UCR?
Absolutely. For potential freshmen, this could be home for the next few years. So ideally, you wouldn't sign a lease or rent a place without seeing it first. And for us, first impressions are everything. Yes, they could have talked to someone on the phone or met a representative when they came to their high school campus. But their campus tour is probably their first experience on campus. And we want it to be a positive one starting from arrival. And then in fact, also local elementary and middle schoolers take campus tours. So as being an open campus, we want them to feel welcome as well. So we want them to also have a positive experience when they come here.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Charlene, prior to implementing Offstreet, how were you issuing guest permits specifically to large-scale events like campus tours on campus?
We were so with LPR, we were using another vendor, and for the customer, it required more clicks before completion. The designated parking option was highlighted and obvious at the top, but it also included a list of all our parking options grayed out below. So yes, it was effective, but it wasn't as simple and straightforward as Offstreet. And once we started using Offstreet, clients and departments asked for that specifically.
That's great to hear. Andy, was there any other challenges or pain points with the previous process that you might want to highlight on that Charlene maybe didn't touch on?
For us, there were a couple things. One of them being that when we were working within that space of when we transitioned to virtual permits and app-based payments or app-based parking, a lot of the providers are very focused on transactional work and transactional fees. And so for us, like Charlene mentioned, it combined all of these different things together. So for our guests, they had a barrage of information on parking options in the area that didn't relate to their visit. We were paying transactional fees for each and every person that came to the campus, even when their transaction was at no cost to them. We have a campus program that covers the costs of parking that's related to campus events that are free and open to the public. So we're trying to invite the public in and have a positive experience. And they were very much trying to sort their way through all this information they were receiving in the parking apps that we were utilizing. And so it wasn't a clean, smooth, simple process. And Offstreet allowed us to streamline that.
Okay, thank you. So specifically, how did your process change since you've implemented Offstreet?
For us, I mean, Charlene can walk through the process, but in going to Offstreet and going to this campus model where we can deploy it across our campus and use it for a variety of different sources, on the event side, it allows them to set up a custom experience for each event where the guests that are going to that event can get mapping to parking locations, mapping to event locations, and things that are specific to them in the simplest format possible without having to search for anything. So whether we're providing them with QR codes or direct links to their parking, the event parking for what they're coming to, we stripped away all of the things that they didn't need to be concerned with. We didn't need to provide them with a whole bunch of parking options as I sit here in the dark. But it just made it much more simpler for our people compared to what it was.
Okay, thank you. So Charlene, I know previously you quickly mentioned that some of your stakeholders are asking you to use Offstreet. The initial buy-in, was it difficult to get the initial buy-in from the stakeholders, and what was your process to get the buy-in?
At the very beginning, clients were cautious of Offstreet because it couldn't possibly be as easy as we claimed it to be. But part of the process was a lot of virtual meetings, or at least sending them a demo link that they could try it themselves. So once we showed them a demo, they were in. Like your video says, yes, it is that easy. And as soon as some clients started using it, others started asking for it because of word of mouth. Like they just couldn't believe how easy it was compared to other vendors we had used. And then other clients started asking us of different ways we could have used it. And for us, that was very exciting because now it's just opened up a way for us to help more people address their parking issues in different ways.
Okay, fantastic. Andy, how do you see the parking management evolving at UCR over the next few years? And what part, if any, would Offstreet play in that?
As we have continued to find, as we transition to virtual parking permits in the LPR world that we have brought to our campus, um, we lost a lot of the custom applications or custom processes that we had previously when we lived in a physical permit world. So everybody kind of got very streamlined. Offstreet is allowing us to provide what our end users believe is a very custom experience to them. But through Offstreet, we can provide that to them in a very simple method. And we're able to customize what Charlene's clients in the event world are dealing with so that they feel like they're still receiving a very custom experience, but we're able to do it out of one application with simple clicks in the setup process that allow us to do a variety of different things. So whether we want to put restrictions on an event, um, whether it's a multi-day and you can only come one day, all these different types of things that you may want to do when setting up permits. Offstreet allows us to do almost everything that we've ever wanted to do. So we're finding that there's more and more things that we used to do in a physical permit world that we're able to offer through Offstreet by using the options that are in the system.
Okay, perfect. So you may have touched on this already, Andy, but for anyone in the position of looking to implement Offstreet, is there anything you wished you knew before starting this project that could benefit others in a similar position?
We wish we would have known that Offstreet existed a year earlier, but we didn't imagine all of the different things that we could use Offstreet for. And so if I was going to go back and I knew, and I could tell myself one thing, it would be lay out all of the things that you're looking to solve and see if Offstreet can solve those for you, because we have found, through our first 2 years of using the system, we found so many different things that we were able to solve with Offstreet, and we're using it for comped events, and we're using it for vendors, construction parking, all kinds of different things that we used to have a variety of tools to achieve. And Offstreet has the options or has worked with us over the years to build in additional flexibility into the product. So it's been a great experience for us.
Thank you. I'm going to move into a quick demo of events, which is one of our features in Offstreet. But before I do that, Charlene, I'm going to kind of catch you off guard here. But what is one of your favorite features in Offstreet?
One of my favorite features, I'll go with two. Most events are one location and one in a specific time frame. So there is a module specifically to do just that. Two is the copy button for the URL. It just saves me a lot of time and prevents errors in relaying that to the client.
Okay.
Oh, and actually three, the QR code is also super convenient.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much. I'm going to move screens. I'm going to switch off my camera just for a few seconds because my screen's on the side and no one ever wants to see this half of my face. So I'm going to switch off my screen. But the main feature here is going to be the event list. And I'm going to show you how to set up an event in Offstreet. We'll do it very quickly. Please note that I'm not going to go through every single section right now, just for the purpose of time, but please feel free as I'm going through it to add any of your Q&A in the section. Okay, perfect. For those of you familiar with Offstreet, you're probably very familiar with this event list and creating an event. For those of you who are not, I'm just going to quickly go through creating an event in Offstreet and what that looks like. I am going to use the campus tour as an example, but our events, when we create our events, it's very specific to a specific date and a specific time. So this campus tour, we will set up with a specific date and time in mind. Please note there are various ways to set this up, and I will give you some feedback on that as we carry through. So when you're in Offstreet, you will come to the event list and you will click on create. You will put in your event name. In this instance, I'm going to call it Campus Tour 1st of October 2024. That will be the date that we'll be hosting the campus tour. We will put in the host information, and this is important to pull through in the reports for billing purposes. In this instance, I will say it's the admissions department. And for today's purposes, I will be the host of the event. We put the event host information in here for any billing purposes moving forward. And then we also have space for a billing code that you can put in. This billing code you can use internally. I know all campuses has different processes internally. It could be a PO number. It could be a work tag. I've heard quite a lot of different ways of using the billing code, but this just tracks it back to the department that you need to backbill for the specific event. The next step is to then assign it to a location. This is the location that the guest will be assigned to park in the day that they come into campus, and they will be valid to park in that specific location. In this instance, I'm going to choose lot 1, and I am going to put in our start date and time. So we will select the 1st of October. When it comes to the start time and expiry times, I always say to client, this is when the parking is valid for. So if your event starts at 10 o'clock, don't make the start time of the parking 10 o'clock, because people will come a little bit earlier to park. So everyone has their own buffer. Some does an hour before, some does 2 hours before, some starts it when enforcement starts. So in this case, I'm just going to do it for a whole day. So it will be from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. And again, this is completely internal, up to you, what works the best for you and your operations internally. This will be according to enforcement times. And the next option is where we will set up the rules for this specific event. We can set the maximum number of parkers, and this is usually also linked to the budget the client gives. Sometimes there is no maximum and they can park as many people as they want. So for the purpose of this, I'm just going to put in 100 parkers, and we can also collect additional information. Again, for this specific section, we always say we want to make it as quick and simple for the end user to register for parking. So really just ask for the information that you need. Don't ask for a lot more information than you need, because the more information the end user needs to put in, the less easy it is for them, or the less simple it is for them. We can add a code for each user, which is almost like a coupon code. A lot of our clients use this for security purposes. They will send the link with the code. And then we can also add a rate in. In this instance, I'm going to add a rate of $5, and we will bill the admissions department $5 per registration for this section. If there is no rate, you will just untick this. It's completely optional and flexible. The next section is our portal settings. When we talk about the portal in Offstreet, we refer to the online link that the guest will get to register on. And this is really just customizing that online link a little bit. So you can add branding. In this case, we've already uploaded a logo. I'm going to use UCR Riverside logo just so you can relate it back to a specific campus tour. And we're going to add instructions, and I will show you quickly where that's going to pull through. I have pre-did these instructions just for the interest of time. So you can paste your instructions here. You can have link in your instructions as well. You can also add files. So some of our clients add a campus map PDF to these registrations, and the guest can go and download that. Any additional information you can add in there, or you can link it in the instructions to an online map of your campus should you want to. And we will also enable the directions. So the directions for this location has already been set up. This actually is where our office is. I forgot to change this to UCR's address, so I do apologize for that. This is where our office is. So if everyone of you wants to come to the Offstreet office for a UCR campus tour, please feel free to do that. I'm then going to click on create event. This event will then automatically create a QR code for you. You can download that QR code, give it to the host. The QR code specifically works well for the day of the event. A lot of people will print it out and maybe just have it on standby in case any of the guests forgot to register for parking. They can quickly do a last minute registration. And this will be the link for the tour. I think we have enough time for me to quickly fill this in, but I'm also going to share this link with you so you can all, there's the copy button that Charlene spoke about, so you can all experience this for yourself. But what it will look like is I will come, my instructions will be here, my event name will pull through here, and I will just put in my license plate number. I will go next, I will put in my first name and my email address. And I will park. My parking will now be confirmed, and I have the option to send myself a confirmation mail. So please, when I share this link with you, go in, do a parking registration, send yourself a confirmation mail and see what that looks like. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. Okay, so we are going to now go into the Q&A session. If you've got any questions for Charlene and Andy, please will you post that there? Okay, this is a good one. Charlene, I suppose this is going to be one for you. What is your process for approving events on campus?
First I have a registration form. So while it's longer than what it used to be, it collects all the information that I need to be able to start an event. And if the client doesn't know yet what they want, they can explain what their situation is and I can make options for them. There's also a feature where they can self-register a video conference so that we can quickly go over their options, which is the opportunity I use to set up an Offstreet demo for them. But yes, that is my process. And Andy talked about a program called the Community Parking Program. The questions in the request form also address the necessary criteria for the Community Parking Program. So really, we could, for seasoned event coordinators, I can do most of the transaction just via one form for them.
Okay, sounds great. Next question. Can you elaborate on how the parking challenges at UCR specifically impacted the overall guest experience before implementing Offstreet?
The biggest piece that we found, and I don't, from talking with other universities about their experience and their transition from physical permits to virtual permits and license plate recognition, it's all of the, it's really easy, or I'll say it's straightforward for us to transition monthly permit holders, those types of people that we have in some other database parking management system that we're using to sell permits and track permits, where we create them and we do all of that part of our business. Transitioning them wasn't a problem. It was all of the other pieces. It's how do we deal with construction parking? How do we deal with complementary parking permits? How do we make all these things happen? Because again, we also had, permit dispensers, and we had app-based, phone-based payment systems. But when we get into some of these things where the individual user showing up may not be paying for their parking themselves, it may be paid in some other way. That's where we started running into all these gaps where we didn't have tools to solve those problems. So that's where we were able to leverage Offstreet to do things like, construction parking, the complimentary parking that we do for guests. We're working on some other items where we have parking lots that are open on from Friday night through early Monday morning, where we don't require parking permits. So some people say they're free, but I don't like to say that because it's not really free, it's costing us. But where we want vehicles in those parking lots registered. So we don't necessarily need you to buy a parking permit, but we want more data. We want to know how often those vehicles are coming and things like that. Offstreet allows us to do that very simply by creating an event that we can make repetitive, and we can put controls in place if we want to, but we want to make it as simple as possible for something like that. So just give us your license plate number, and we'll register the vehicle till 10 p.m. that day, and you're just fine. So it allowed us to pick up all those little pieces that were left during the LPR transition.
Perfect. So the next question is very much related to what you spoke to already. So we wanted to know how you specifically use Offstreet for your construction and vendors and how well that is working.
So we have leveraged it a couple different ways. The biggest one that we have done with construction parking, we have one major building construction site on campus, and instead of we used to segregate off parking lots and fence them up, which takes away fixed inventory out of our campus parking capacity. So we eliminated that process, and we park construction workers in with everybody else because it takes up less space. We don't deal with the space being lost for long periods of time. So what we would do now is the primary thing that we would do is with that contractor, we would figure out what's the maximum number of vehicles that we want to or are going to park. What are the hours of that parking? We get all those parameters together that exist around events. It very much similar to hosting any event on campus. And we set them up with a long-term event that is just repetitive. So this event takes place every Monday through Friday, and each vehicle can have one parking permit per day, up to a maximum amount of total parking permits that can be issued to that event every day. So the contractor can share the QR code or link, however they want to distribute it, with their workers. And we have a preset number of parking spaces that they can use. And it just allows them to very simply have their workers register their vehicles when they get there and they're showing up to their job sites or the parking lot. And it takes them out of managing individual parking permits. It stops us from having to create parking permits for them or segregate parking spaces. And then some projects, they're prepaying for a fixed number. We have other projects where we're billing in arrears, like we do for individual guest permits from departments. So at the end of the month or end of the quarter or something like that, we're settling up with them.
Okay. I see we're starting to run out of time. There is still a few questions. So those of you who want to stay on, we're going to still kind of like go through them. We are going to put some contact details on the screen if you wanted to contact us. I'm just going to quickly go through some more questions, but thank you everyone for joining us. If you have to leave, we completely understand. It is at cut-off time, but we are going to continue just a little bit longer. Brick Fraser asked us, can the license plate be changed by the parker or parking operations if needed? That's a very good question, Brick. I'm going to quickly answer that from Offstreet side. The parker unfortunately cannot go in and change it. They can contact the parking team, and the parking team has the ability to look up that plate and then edit that plate accordingly. The next question is, if you have a campus tour over multiple days, can you handle that in Offstreet? So yes, we can. I did the very simple exact start date and time. The way UCR actually use it is like ongoing. People can select a date, and that plate will be valid from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. on the date that they select, because you can sign up for campus tours throughout the year. We actually have a guide for that. So we will share that link of the guide in the chat. We will also share that link with you in the follow-up mails from the webinar. So please go through the guide and see how to set that setting up. We just wanted to start simple today with the event with an exact start date and time. But there are various flexibility and options in our system to set up like what you needed to do. We always ask you what you're trying to achieve, and then we take it from there and assist in setting that up. One of our next questions that we have, maybe Charlene, for you, from feedback from the clients, what's the response of less tech-savvy guests? What sort of responses did you see from those groups after or from implementing Offstreet?
For the less techy customers themselves, they like the fact that there's no app to download. So if the QR code is available on site, they can simply scan, enter in their plate, and move forward. And again, can't believe how easy it is. For my department clients, that are concerned for their less tech guests, some of them choose to register for their guest for them. So when they register to attend like an alumni dinner or a senior banquet or that of that nature, they might collect their license plate with the event registration and then register for parking for them.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, here's a one that might be a little bit tricky, but also we usually work together to find a solution to that. What if I want to charge for parking, but at a discounted rate? Yeah. So it depends on all clients what they're currently using. Offstreet can be implemented with payments, but most of our clients use it for guest and comped parking, and they either bill back the department. When it comes to discounted rate, where the department will pay some of it and the end user pays some of it. It is a setting that needs to be set up in the back end. And that's something that you can speak to our team about. What is the process for non-affiliate visitors? Do you have a process for that?
In terms of non-affiliates using the campus as a venue, yes, they can use the same registration form to coordinate parking for their guests. We just take payment differently. For guests, non-affiliates coming to campus, it's the same process for everyone. Someone will, whatever event they're here to attend, generally shares an Offstreet link with them, either directly via confirmation email or online if it's an event open to the public. But it's the same process for people in attendance of an event.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining. I think we came through the Q&A. I'm sure the team also answered some questions in the chat. And again, I just want to say thank you all for coming, and we will share any additional links with you after the webinar.